Hey there, everyone. Back in Imperishable Night for one more episode, because there's a set of spells that I haven't shown yet. If you followed my Perfect Cherry Blossom LP, you may have seen recently I put one up of this because it starts off the same as Yukari's last Phantasm spell. But there's this whole set of spells in Imperishable Night that I would like to show off, called Last Words. It's kind of an extension of the last spells that you see in-game, but they're mostly more difficult, not always. So every character in the game has one, and let's get started with Wriggle. Excuse me. Wriggle is the stage 1 boss, but she actually has one of the hardest whoops, I didn't mean to be playing this live. No, I'm not gonna capture these playing them live. I meant to show the replays, and yeah. Alright, so Wriggle has one of the most difficult last words, even though she's the stage 1 boss. Odd how that happens. And Aaron, who is one of the hardest bosses in the game, has one of the easiest last words. It's pretty strange how that works. But if you'll notice, I'm doing this without moving horizontally at all, because those red and blue arcs don't hit you if you never move horizontally. It's kind of a neat little trick that makes this more doable. But without doing that, it's really hard. Trying to go back and forth is crazy difficult. You do kind of have to get lucky a little bit to do it that way, but it made it a lot more doable. But right before I recorded this, I actually realized that the method I had come up with, so I didn't have to go back and forth, was to stream it across the bottom from the far end. I realized that would maybe work with Remelia. I couldn't get it to work with the border team. I couldn't do damage fast enough, but Remelia's aimed shots that basically stay parked wherever you leave them do quite a bit of damage, and the end gets pretty difficult, but it's a lot more doable with Remelia than it was with with the border team, with Yukari's homing. So that's one way to do it without using the no horizontal trick. Next is Mystia. This is one of the easiest ones, I think. This is one of the first ones I unlocked, actually. So I unlocked this way back before I was ever trying any of the others. And I got it on like my 6th try. And since I got it so easily, I didn't bother saving a replay, so I had to redo it. I actually had more trouble recapturing it, because, well, for one thing, I kept getting walled by those green bullets. But the other thing was I just wasn't giving it enough respect or paying enough attention, and just would get close and then just walk into a bullet. But it's really not that hard compared to the other last words. Third, K&A. This is another one I unlocked way back early on, so I have a ton of attempts on it, even though it's not nearly as hard as the other ones that took me 90-ish tries. So yeah, you've got these red butterflies that are aimed towards you, or at least near you, and then this static pattern of blue butterflies, and then the lasers come around in a pattern where you get the red and the blue ones spawning separately. And so the lasers confine your movement while you have to stream the red butterflies. But the lasers hitbox spawn pretty late, so you can go through them right when they show up, like I did there at the end. And the butterflies have small hitboxes, so exploit both of those if you need to. Okay, Reisen. So there were 3 last words that I couldn't capture with the border team, that I had to use another character or team, and this is one of them. The reason being, you have to switch back and forth between focused and unfocused a lot. You have to unfocus to get inside the rings fast enough, but you also have to focus to do this precision dodging. And the problem with the border team is when you are focused, Ron has a pretty good homing, or Yukari has a pretty good homing damage when Ron locks onto the boss. But as soon as you switch to unfocused, you basically lose Ron's homing, and you have to go back under the boss to get it back. Whereas if you use Yukari solo, Ron just sticks on the boss the whole time. So that shaves a bit of time off of that spell, because it deals damage more quickly. So that was one of the 3. This is not the second one. No, this is Rainbow and Yukari, yeah. Okay, no, this is Aaron. This is one of the easiest ones. I got on my 4th try, and aside from the first one, where I had no idea what was going on and was caught off guard by these bullets spawning from the lasers, pretty much every attempt I felt pretty much in control and had a good go at it. Just made a small mistake and got hit. So this one I really think is one of the easiest. And these bullets again have small hitboxes. As you can see, they're going right through me at times. Maybe I just got lucky with not getting rolled by any of the bullets, or by making some pretty tight dodges that I wouldn't always make. But yeah, that did not really give me any trouble at all compared to the others. Kaguya is the second one that I needed a separate team to capture. And the reason being I wanted Remelia's locked on damage here again, just because it ends the spell a little quicker. So you circle around because these things are aimed at you. It's a lot like her final spell in the main game. Not her last words, but the Four-Eye Jewel / Rainbow down Mokou. It's a lot better to go in a rectangle than a circle because of how these things aim. And this part at the top is the hardest, I think. And Remelia can end it just before you have to cross that a second time. So that's why I used the Scarlet Devil team for that. And this one is Mokou's. And I'm using the Ghost team in the replay, but I'm not counting this as one of the 3 I need another team for, because I've also captured it with the Border team. I just have to replay with the Ghost team. It's based on one of her extra spells. It's actually based on one of her easiest extra spells, so it's not that hard. Alright, so the trick I have is to lure her to the left and then get to the far left here when this repeated wave comes out, so you have more space to get through those shards off to the right. Because the further they get away from Mokou, the more room you have. And so if you push it off to the right, you have more room to work with, so that's why I do that. Yeah, this one I did the Ghost team first because of the thing with Yukari losing her homing damage if you unfocus, and sometimes I had to unfocus going to right there. But it's not that difficult, so I went back after doing it with the Ghost team and did it with the Border team. But this one, no, why do I keep saying RM and thinking it's Remelia? It's Reimu. So I keep thinking, oh, this is the one I used, the Scarlet team, but no. Let's see, this is Tay. This is a pretty fun one to play. You have to stay up high on the screen so that those red bullets basically ignore you. And then you just basically do this slalom dodging. It's very rhythmic. You don't really want to try and react to them by sight because they come at you too quickly with as high as you have to stay. But if you can get the rhythmic pattern in your head, and it's not that bad. But it is a pretty precise rhythm, so you have to really bear down and get it. So anyway, also she shoots out the same number every time, so count them off so you know when you're gonna have to move to get under her again. This is the third one that I had to do with the separate one, and it's the same reason as before, where I have to unfocus sometimes, and then I lose Ron's homing damage, and it just prolongs the spell. And this spell gave me enough trouble that I did not want to prolong it. I wanted to get this done in as few iterations, or as few waves of this as I could. It's a lot like her second spell in the extra stage, but the aim shots are this wide shotgun spread so that you really have to move a lot, which is unusual for a Touhou game. That one took me over 500 tries to capture, even though the spell history said like 1 out of 130 or something. That was for Yukari solo. With all the, I tried it with the border team, I tried it with the ghost team, and I tried it with Yukari all extensively, and combined it was over 500 tries. This is the one that a lot of people consider the hardest. I don't necessarily see it that way. It's a survival card. The beginning is not hard. She spawns these things and they aim at you, and if you can work out a pattern for the beginning, you can just manipulate these and misdirect them so that you're completely safe up to about the 10-second mark. This dodge is fairly tricky, it gets me quite a bit, but other than that, like up to the final 10 seconds, you're pretty safe, and then it gets here and it starts getting crazy and you just kind of have to improvise. Maybe you could memorize the safe path through this, but I certainly didn't. So I fully accept that I just got lucky to beat that in under 100 tries, which was a lot faster than a couple of the others. There were only 2 that took more than 100 actually, but the 2 that did were a lot harder than that for me. So yeah, I mean, it does look like I was actually making legitimate dodges and reacting well, and I kind of was there at the end, but also I got lucky that none of the walls fanned out and just blocked me off, which does happen a lot, so, but because that only happens at the very end, I feel like, I have more of a shot at that one and at, like, extra Kanes, or Yuyuko's, which I'll show later. This is, the other main character, Marissa, and, it's, some people think this is one of the more difficult ones too, but I didn't think it was that bad. And I do accept that I got lucky on this too, but it just moved to the side to misdirect her dives, and then dodge the stars as you go by, and they have pretty small hitboxes. One interesting thing about this is that laser charge thing she does is recorded in stereo, so if she goes to the right, it comes through the right speaker, and vice versa for the left. But yeah, it does get pretty crazy at the end, so I mean, and I actually got hit there. Right at the last second, but I mean, like right as the spell ended, I got hit, and it was just late enough that it didn't register. So yeah, I guess I got pretty lucky there, but it didn't take that long to do. Okay, now we go to the other human characters, player characters. Sakuya's, this one is considered one of the easiest by a lot of people, but I think it's actually kind of tricky. The gimmick is that the blue knives, as soon as time freezes, the blue knives extend out in full lines, and if any of them are pointed at you, you're getting hit. And then later she has these yellow knives that just kind of stick around. You basically have to be moving when time freezes, because that middle line of knives aims at you, and you need to move like at the last second before time freezes for them to miss. The thing that makes it tricky is you can't be under the statically patterned blue knives at all when time stops, which means you really have to understand the timing to know whether you need to get past them or whether you can stop short of them before time stops. So yeah, I mean, if you can get the timing down, it's not bad, but if you don't like completely understand the timing like perfectly, it's really easy to get caught just because of bad timing. I'd get caught under one of those patterned knives when time stops. So Yomu, this is pretty similar to her spell in the Shoot the Bullet games. Well, in the photography, Shoot the Bullet is the only photography game I've played. There's only one Shoot the Bullet game. The other one being called Double Spoiler, of course. This is not that bad. You have to get out from under her when time slows like this, because those white lines have a hitbox. Basically, she rams you and you will lose if that happens. The trick is when time slows down, It's really easy to dodge stuff, but you don't just want to dodge stuff when time slows down. You want to look around and read where the openings are so that you don't have to dodge anything at full speed. Like, just make sure you know where you need to be before time speeds back up. And as long as you read it well, it's not that bad. Very much a reading spell. Let's see. And Alice is next. Now we're getting to the yokai heroines. This is similar in concept to Kane's first and third extra spell, but harder. It starts with this static pattern and then aims at you, and you basically have to stream through that mess of bullets. The first wave, just you can do without moving horizontally at all. Just move vertically up and down. Maybe you could the second one too, but I don't, because it's really hard to get exactly in the center after you've left the center. But I actually never memorized the second phase. I just kind of did it by sight a few times and managed to capture it before I ended up learning it. But yeah, that one is it's fairly tricky. Just some really tight dodging and really dense formations, and you have to stream through that dense formation. Next is Remillia. Remillia's is pretty fun. Not necessarily one of the harder ones. It did take me a while. You can stay exactly in the center until that last bubble bullet gets to you, but I don't like to. I always move left earlier so that it directs Remillia to the left, because if you stay in the center, she goes to the right, and then you get forced to the left, and then you get kind of out of sync with her and don't deal damage as quickly. But this has a pretty set pattern. It just speeds up. So just do the same thing over and over, and once you get the pattern worked out, it's not that bad. It's just a matter of, can you speed up with the spell and do it as it gets faster and faster. Alright, this one, Yuyuko's. This is, I think, the hardest one. Even though it took me fewer than half the tries that Kane extra form did. It's basically, it's like her lunatic form of Resurrection Butterfly, but harder. Well, each wave is harder, but you don't have to survive as many waves because it's not a survival card anymore. But basically you have these red ones fanning out, but then on top of that you get everything else getting on top of you faster, and the transition between the waves becomes difficult also, and I got really lucky there at the end. I actually got a lot better at reading the red bullets, but it still took me getting really lucky to get missed by them there at the end. Alright, so this is the last of the last words. It's of course Yukari's Profound Danmaku Bounded Field, Phantasm, Foam, and Shadow. The name is actually too long to even fit the full thing in here. So it starts off just like Danmaku Bounded Field from Perfect Cherry Blossom, which is why I used this in the Perfect Cherry Blossom LP. So you unlock this by unlocking and facing all of the other last word spells. You don't necessarily have to capture all the others. Just face them once, which is quite the task when you consider everything you have to do to unlock all the other spells. So like I said, it starts off the same as Danmaku Bounded Field, which is not that bad once you know how to do it. I mean, it's a lot of figuring out where the openings are, but once you know where they are, there's not any particularly difficult dodges in the first half. Which also means that once you know how to do this, it gets pretty repetitive practicing this, because you have to do this over and over, and it takes like a full minute for the first half to finish. This is the only part that's, I guess, somewhat difficult, but I never fail it anymore, so I guess it's not that hard, really. But anyway, this is where it starts to actually get pretty difficult. This is not in Perfect Cherry Blossom. This part is new. And here you circle around, and I've always found that to be a pretty difficult dodge, even after I knew what to do. This one, you don't have to do this way. You can kind of work your way down to the bottom, but I like to circle around again and get back to the center. I find that a little easier than the first one because I can read what's happening a bit better. This third one is pretty much a gimme, especially if you do the second wave ending in the center. You're already where you need to be and you just don't move. This is the hardest wave. And I don't think I should actually go to the corner there because, as you can see, when I try to get to the center where it's safe, the amulets on the last wave started spawning before I got there, so luckily I didn't ram into any of them during that. That would have been bad. But once you get to the center, this last wave is not that hard. I did that on my first try. It's slow enough and you usually have enough openings that it's not bad. You can get kind of walled in tough situations, but I think you can always get out of it. But I have seen people get more difficult paths out of it than that. So yeah, that is so that's all the last words, but there is still one spell that I want to show, and it's Mokou's last spell in the extra stage, which you unlock by capturing at least 7 different spell cards in an extra clear, in one clear, like not in stage practice or not combined, just in one go. And so this is more difficult than most, if not all, of the last words, and way harder than Mokou's actual last word. So this is a good final challenge to take on. So it's the same thing. It's all these rings that fan out into these flower patterns, and you have to get inside them before they shoot out like that. So the first 3, I mean, it takes a while to get good at them, but once you get into a rhythm and know how to do it, the first 3 are not bad at all. This is the first one that's a real problem for clearing the spell. But it's doable. And then this one, this is a lot harder than it looks. When you see someone do it, it looks, oh, you just go up to the thing. It's much harder than that, and you have to do it twice in a row. And there's a little bit of luck involved. Sometimes you get an easier alignment than others. Sometimes it's really difficult, but those 2 straight vertical shafts are really hard. The green one, you kind of have to be more aggressive than I thought you would. So I failed it a few times. You really have to get to the center. You can't just sit back and let it pass. And then this last one I got on the first try. It's not hard. The last part can get you. The build up to it's not bad. You do have to make sure you get inside those blue bullets there. If you weren't paying attention to them, go back and have a look, and you would be in for a nasty surprise if you don't get inside them. So that's pretty much it. That's about all the content in this game. I mean, there's the hard stages and hard and lunatic, and then there's... Actually, I never showed 4A or 6A, but I don't know that I'll worry about that. But yeah, anyway, so that's pretty much the last bit of content for Imperishable Night. I hope you enjoyed it.